Welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them. I'm host Jack Culbertson, here to suffer alongside me as always is also host Joe Nealis.
You were thinking about whether or not to say Joey Rouse, weren't you?
Yeah, I
was. Welcome back, everybody.
We are back for part 2 of the Alan Smithee film, Burn, Hollywood Burn.
We're sorry.
We are sorry. Let's see if we can fix this. But first, we have some history to talk about.
We sure do, huh?
Let's go ahead and give that disclaimer right now.
Yeah, so quick content warning for this episode. We're going to be talking at length about, sexual assault, the Me Too movement, about some,
we're going to be talking about power structures, abusive power structures.
Sure. Yeah, abusive power structures.
Terrible situations. Yeah.
Yep.
It's all bad.
Not a fun time, but we had... it would be irresponsible not to cover it since we were faced directly with Harvey Weinstein in this film, so...
Yeah. Well, everyone I've talked to in our circle said that they were aware of Harvey Weinstein and like kind of sort of what he had done, but not in any kind of detail.
Sure. I have trouble remembering some of the details. I mostly remember that Rose McGowan had come forward with several accusations, and then it's like the floodgates opened.
Yeah. I think that it's important that we don't forget what he has done. I
think especially these days, because it's shamefully still relevant.
Yeah.
And also the time in which this all came out feels like a million years ago, despite the fact that it was like 7. It was like
2015.
8 years ago then. It's too recent to feel like it's that ancient, and thus I think it's important that we highlight the reality of what happened there.
We've been through a lot as a country, we've been through a lot since 2015, so it makes sense that it feels like it's a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
But this behavior that happens in Hollywood and among people of power will continue unless it is kept in the light.
Yeah.
So because of that, and because Harvey Weinstein and Bob Weinstein are such a huge part of that chunk of Hollywood history,
yes,
and we're going to keep running into it.
It's inevitable.
I didn't want to continue to be like, Harvey Weinstein, ooh, that's icky. Anyway, let's move on. I mean, that's what I'm going to do now, but
we're going to do our due diligence and actually dig in on what happened, what the accusations were, what came of it. And then in the future, we can officially say, hey, go back and check this episode.
Yeah.
Also,
right,
let's move on.
Then we can do that.
Yeah.
We're also going to cover other people responsible for the Alan Smithee movie,
yes,
who are not Harvey Weinstein.
Because thankfully there are some.
Yeah. As well as kind of covering what the hell Alan Smithee is.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, like, even though you see it in a whole bunch of places, it's not in use anymore. So I think it's like, again, in the name of, film history, I think it's important that we shine a light on that kind of thing and show people how things used to be.
And then I will attempt to fix this movie, or rather describe why it is unfixable, and maybe some suggestions as to what could be done to make it less insufferable.
I'm intrigued to hear what you have to say about that.
One of the reasons I like this podcast and why I suggested it and why I like fixing movies in general is it feels like a puzzle. And every once in a while you get to a puzzle and you're like, it's broken. I can't fix it. It broke.
Half of this puzzle's a different puzzle.
Right. So I'm like, I fixed as much as I could.
I chewed on some of the pieces. This is broken now.
Yeah. Yeah. Joe Esterhaus chewed on some bits, and
nobody told Joe Esterhaus you don't put puzzles together with your mouth, usually.
He does look like he would, though. I wish he were as gentle a human being as his appearance gives.
Right.
And I think that there are aspects of him that are a very gentle, kind person.
In the last episode, we talked a little bit about how in those interviews around the time of Showgirls and in the wake of Showgirls, that apparently his like personal demeanor and actual personality are more in line with like that kind of gentleness and like, you know, quietness. Like he seems to be a bit more of like a shy shut-in than this greasy hornball that seems to just, you know, come up out of the depths whenever he puts pen to paper.
It's a hell of an image. He is a complicated person, and if I was basing my opinion of him just on this movie, I would talk nothing but shit.
Yeah.
But because we've done our research on him before,
yes,
my opinion of him is complicated.
I think that's reasonable. Like this movie is shameful, and he should feel pretty bad about it. But it's a low point, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like, it's not indicative of the entirety of his work or who he is as a person.
No, and he's said things that I've strongly disagreed with in the past, which then he's taken back.
Yeah.
Among them, his support of anti-Semite Mel Gibson.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's news to me.
Initially came out in support of him, but went back on that. This is also the man whose father was a literal Nazi.
Right. I do remember us talking about that, because there were the claims that Showgirls... Oh, no, there was the claims that...
Starship Troopers
mm-hmm. was created by actual literal Nazis.
Yeah.
And that's just false.
Yeah. So... let's start by talking about Alan Smithee.
Yes.
So in the first episode, we talked about what that is, which is it's a pseudonym that sometimes directors will take or used to take when they feel that the movie or project has been taken out of their control. They can then put that name on it to kind of distance themselves from the project.
Yes.
So that first occurred in 1968. At the time, the DGA, the Directors Guild of America, did not allow directors to use pseudonyms. And the reason they didn't do that was because they didn't want producers to force that upon directors. I don't know what was going on at the time, but just knowing how capitalism works, there was apparently an issue with people being forced to use pseudonyms in a manner to prevent them from increasing their resume.
Okay.
So it's like, you didn't direct Citizen Kane. That was Marty Fleming's. That was Joey Rouse. So that was the reason that the DGA didn't allow pseudonyms, because they
didn't make sure people were getting the proper credit for their proper
correct
work.
The DGA tends to lean in support of the auteur theory, which is
not surprised.
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh, you're the Directors Guild. You lean towards the theory that says that the director is the primary creative force.
I'm shocked.
What?
Shocked, I tell you.
So yeah, they want to be able to have like the auteur keep their name on the project. Mm-hmm. However, as I said, 1968, 1969, there's a film called Death of a Gunfighter. And it was, while it was being filmed, the lead actor, Richard Widmark, was unhappy with the director. And as this would occasionally happen, and still does occasionally happen, the actor had more power than the director. Yeah,
it's not something that happens all that often, but it is possible for an actor to kind of pull rank if they have reached a particular level of success,
right,
and have a director fired.
Which is what he did. He had Robert Totten fired, and Don Siegel replaced him.
Okay. The
movie was finished, and when it came time to put a director on the project, Don Siegel was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. It was not my film. I came in, I finished it, but it's not mine. And similarly, Robert Totten was like, you guys fired me. Fuck you. Like,
yeah. How else are you supposed to respond in that moment?
Yeah. So what they did was they wanted to come up with a name that sounded real enough that people wouldn't be like, it doesn't sound that Joey Rouse, huh?
So after they found out that just cycling through the phone book page by page was a complete waste of time.
But they also didn't want to pick a more common name, because I believe they did pick a more common name initially, and then people are like, we already got like 6 of those guys. We don't want this, you know.
It's a real like Joey, Jojo, Junior, Shabadoo,
Right.
whatever.
I was going to say Robert Smith, but...
they think they picked an obscure name, and there's a guy at the end of the bar with that exact name.
Yeah,
just
so
all of the Simpsons.
Alan Smithee with Chewies is like, okay, yeah. I'm not gonna like look twice at it.
Yeah, that feels unique enough.
Yes. Allow me to give you a number of Alan Smithee projects.
Sure. There's
so many.
One that jumps to mind for me, but go ahead.
So I will say that you can no longer officially use Alan Smithee.
Right.
And the reason for that is the Alan Smithee movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So once it came out, the illusion was ruined.
They broke kayfabe. So
They broke kayfabe.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, everyone now knows that Alan Smithee's a fake name. It doesn't serve its purpose anymore.
Yeah, and this isn't a Mick Foley situation. He couldn't just like retire Mankind and bring out Dude Love. Just,
I mean, if only. So there are still individuals who use Alan Smithee, but it's not officially recognized by the DGA. Here are a number of examples. So as I said, the very first one is Death of a Gunfighter, and I want to bring it up again because it actually got pretty good reviews.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this movie.
I haven't either. It's an older film. I think it's a Western, if I recall. But
it's fascinating that the first Alan Smithee film is actually not a shitty movie.
No, it's, and I should also, before I forget, mention that you could apply for an Alan Smithee credit, but you would not be given it unless you could convince the DGA that your creative control was taken from you.
Okay.
So, like, let's say I made, Gone with the Wind 6 more dicks, and I
brave choice,
right?
Just,
and I was like, that was a misstep in my career. I'm going to go ahead and Alan Smithee this.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with just how few dicks there were in More Dicks,
right,
so I can't put my name on this.
There were not enough horses and dicks. They would say, well, did you have full creative control? And I'm like, well,
Like, if I had my druthers, there would have been twice the number of dicks. So no.
So if I had like done the edit and it was mine and it had all the dicks in the world that I wanted, this is such a weird example.
Hey, you opened this door, man.
My brain's a weird place. They would say, no, your name's staying on it, Jack Culbertson. You are Gone with the Wind, More Dicks.
Yes.
For now and always. Whereas if I was able to prove that you came in and removed all the dicks digitally, or like had people standing in front of it kind of awkwardly framed, like
replaced all the dicks with walkie-talkies.
That is an image. I can't believe what that horse did to that little girl with that walkie-talkie.
No! God damn it!
That joke was not supposed to be as dark as it went.
That really went
way darker than I wanted.
Holy
you
shit.
see, in the original Gone with the Wind, the little girl dies because she gets thrown from a horse.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I want to move on.
Anyway.
Oh, God. Anyway, if I were able to prove that somebody else had edited it significantly, then I could get the credit.
Sure.
However, again, since 1999, no such luck. So some of the other movies that were awarded this credit were such gems as The Birds 2, Land's End. That is a 1994 sequel to the Alan Hitchcock, Alfred Hitchcock film.
I had no idea there was a sequel. Holy fuck.
I didn't either. There's a National Lampoon's movie called Senior Trip. There is this one. I'm like, yeah, I absolutely agree. The Twilight Zone movie, specifically, not the director, because fuck him. But the assistant director was like, I want nothing to do with specifically the segment that involved the death of actor Vic Morrow and the 2 children.
Yes.
I don't think we'll ever cover that. I don't know if I ever really want to. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, honestly, I think that it might be in better taste to leave that alone.
Yeah. He was awarded the Alan Smithee Award, and I will not be saying his name.
Fair.
So most of the movies are not really well known. There are a number of movies that are well known, and it's for a very specific reason that I would not have guessed.
Oh?
Airplanes.
Airplanes?
Airplanes.
Airplanes?
So there's a number of famous movies, or better, well-known movies, that their airplane cut is disowned.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Airplanes and TV versions. So the David Lynch Dune.
That's the one
one
that was coming to mind for me.
I think it's actually the longer version is not his.
Yeah.
The quote unquote director's cut is not his.
Mm-hmm.
So he's taking the Alan Smithee, and I think I told you separately. I didn't. The screenwriting credit, it's credited to Judas Booth after Judas Iscariot and John Wilkes Booth.
Oh my God!
Yeah, right.
I was not aware of. Holy shit!
It also might explain why I was never able to make it through that Dune, because I was watching the wrong cut.
That movie always came across as Dune greatest hits to me, because it just bounces around and there's no connective tissue between some of the scenes. It's just, it's not good. I can absolutely understand wanting to have nothing to do with that afterwards. I did recently read that apparently David Lynch wants so little to do with that he doesn't even want anyone to ask him about Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Like
Makes sense.
He won't see it. He doesn't want people to ask him about it. Like, he just wants never to be associated with Dune again.
Yeah. Have you watched him deliver the weather? The man gives no fucks.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
I've never heard of this movie, but I love the names chosen. So there's a movie from 1992 called The Nut House.
Never heard of it.
Same. You may know the people who worked on it, though. Bruce Campbell, Ivan Raimi, and Sam Raimi.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think I think they wrote it.
Okay.
They took different names, but they couldn't all be Alan Smithee. So
oh, no.
Ivan took Alan Smithee Sr., Sam took Alan Smithee Jr., and Bruce Campbell took Rock Sandstorm. And rock is an acronym, and I don't know what for. It's R.O.C.
What? Bruce, what?
But that is even better than episode 1's Joey Rowles. I think I might like Rock Sandstorm more.
Rock Sandstorm is so good. I need to know what that stands for.
I'll have to do the search, but that's very good. Just a couple of non-film Alan Smithee projects.
Non-film?
Yeah. I mean, anybody can kind of just be like, I don't want it.
I have some TV
There's
projects.
A bunch of TV.
Okay.
Nothing really. It's a lot of like this singular episode type deal he does. There's like an episode
Scott's Tots.
There's an episode of the Cosbys. There's an episode of Twilight Zone, but the remake, or the 80s version, not the remake.
We just had to have Cosby pop up in here, didn't we?
It's not going to be the last for this episode.
God damn it.
An oddly large number of music videos.
Really? Music videos?
Yeah. I can see that though, because can you imagine the number of musicians, musical artists that probably took over the film, the music video set?
I could definitely see that happening with a good number of artists.
But I've two more. They're both my favorite. Specifically, the comic book Daredevil, issues 338 through 342, by writer D.G. I'm going to say Chichester? I don't know.
Okay.
He was on break, which happened fairly regularly for a writer to take like a couple issue break.
Sure.
And have somebody fill in for like 3. Well, during that time, he found out that he was being ousted.
Oh.
Yeah. But he was contracted for those last 4 issues.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck you guys. Don't put my name on it.
So he Alan Smithee.
Alan Smithee. There's 4 issues of Daredevil that are Alan Smithee.
That's wild.
Yeah. Also, a little game called Metal Gear Solid 4.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the teaser for Metal Gear Solid 4 that was shown at E3 in 2005 was credited to Alan Smithee. When the game officially came out, it was Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
But
wait, he Alan Smithied himself for the teaser.
Yes. It's bizarre.
What a weird guy.
Right.
So he's absolutely obsessed with movies. So like I'm not surprised he would do something like that. But at the same time, just for the teaser, my dude?
Yeah.
All right.
So that is a brief but thorough history of Alan Smithee.
Bravo.
Oh boy. Up next, I wanted to talk about Joe Esterhaus, but we kind of covered everything about him already.
Honestly, yeah, we've really. I feel like we've pretty thoroughly covered Esterhaus's stuff there. Is there any particular tidbits that we've maybe glazed over or missed?
We talked about his father being a literal Nazi,
which he found out about and then disowned him.
Yeah. I don't know if we mentioned that he barely survived throat cancer.
I don't know if we talked about that.
He after that he returned to the Catholic Church. He also became like pretty hard right Republican. He supported the Hungary's version of Trump, but
oh no,
like because he's Hungarian, he goes back and forth on like weird political there's things he goes left on that you wouldn't expect, and vice versa.
Yeah,
interesting dude. Glad he didn't write a series of novels that are Islamophobic.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He didn't. That was...
Yeah, no, I remember.
Yeah, good thing that's the worst person we're talking about today.
Oh, wait.
Here we are. We are talking about Harvey Weinstein.
Do we want to take a break before we do that?
I would like to take a nap. Yeah, let's take a break. All right, I'm as ready as I'm gonna be.
Okay.
Harvey Weinstein and everything that's wrong with Hollywood.
That's a good subtitle.
Yeah. Roman Farrow's is better. The title of his article is From Aggressive Overtures to Sexual Assault. Harvey Weinstein's accusers tell their stories. This is one of 2 articles that came out that exposed Harvey Weinstein for the monster that we now know he is. This originally appeared in October of 2014 in the New Yorker. The timeline is difficult because there's like some conflicting stories. There are names omitted, so you don't know if like who was saying what, when. And again, we're not a true crime podcast, so I'm going to lightly go over the events.
Sure.
The earliest incident that I was able to find of him doing terrible things was 1998. He tried to be Harvey Weinstein. I didn't know what verb to use there. He tried to Harvey Weinstein Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't realize that she was among his victims there.
Yes. Oh God. There's so many that I will get to.
Yeah.
This was when she was fairly early on in her career. I think she had done Shakespeare in Love at that point.
Okay.
I know she had done Seven.
Right. Yeah.
And because she had done Seven, she was dating Brad Pitt. And
I always forget that they dated.
Brad Pitt at that time, and probably still now, was the bigger star between Harvey Weinstein and himself.
Mm.
So he went up to Harvey Weinstein and threatened to beat the ever-living shit out of him and kill him. And Harvey Weinstein never talked to Gwyneth Paltrow again.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks that she couldn't just be like, no, I'm not interested. And he would just fuck off. That she had to go to her incredibly famous boyfriend.
And then he had to go
incredibly muscular,
and had to go and threaten this
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. One of the things I was not able to figure out was how well known his bullshit was at the time that they made Alan Smithee, because Alan Smithee was released in late 1988.
1998.
Yes,
Yeah.
late 1998. This also occurred in 1998. I'm assuming this is not the first thing he's done, but I also, the vibe I'm getting is that his nonsense. It's really weird to describe his nonsense. But.
So, just judging by stories that I've heard in the past about other, prominent abusive figures like him, it stands to reason that there would have been other women before that who were less prominent than Gwyneth Paltrow that he may have coerced or abused or backed into corners or put in compromising, shitty situations. And it could be that we've heard from some of them at this point. It could be we'll never hear from any of them.
My question is, did the production of Alan Smithee, were they aware of his reputation? And I'm not sure if he quite had that widespread reputation at that point.
I would be surprised if he did, honestly, because a one-off thing where Brad Pitt's threatening you is one thing. I'm sure that if even not like a widely publicized thing, it would probably be, word of it would probably get around in some circles. But that's one instance being whispered about, a pattern does not make.
Agreed. And I originally had written this to include more of he and his brother Bob's history.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Honestly,
as far as their film history, the only thing you really need to know for our purposes is that he originally started out with Bob doing concerts, being a concert organizer.
Concert promoters.
Yeah. They both fell in love with film, specifically The 400 Blows, which is a great film, and really classy. Fuck them. They have good taste, okay? They can be both monsters and have good taste.
Yeah. Those things are not mutually exclusive. In fact, a lot of people that have good taste tend to be kind of insufferable. Just... Not you. You're fine. Shut up.
So they eventually moved on to create their own company, Miramax, which we've talked about before.
Yes.
Named after their parents. It's
disgustingly
obnoxiously cute. They eventually, they spent a lot of time promoting and distributing independent films, which is great because that was needed in the industry.
Absolutely, yes.
So Miramax was eventually purchased by Disney, of all people. However, the Weinsteins were still in charge.
Yes.
They were paid a disgusting sum of money and still got to keep their jobs. I'm like, what? Sign me up, please. It appears that right around that time, where they were still in charge, but Disney was signing the paychecks, where Harvey started to show how much of a monster he was.
Well, at that point, I'm sure he's feeling himself, right? Like he's got all this power, all this clout. His company has just been bought for X number of millions of dollars. It's almost like somebody is subconsciously telling him he's entitled to do these things. And
I didn't look into this too much, but I vaguely recall it being said that he pretty much bought the Best Picture award for Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. That's still cited as one of the more infuriating Best Picture victories in Academy Awards history.
Do you recall what it beat?
No.
Okay, I feel like there was a movie that people are like, how did it beat this?
Let me look that up real quick. Hold on, I want to have that.
Gotcha. But knowing that he had the power to basically purchase the Best Picture award, that's a lot of power.
Yeah, no, that's an absurd amount of power, and that's also amassed fairly quickly, considering that came out in 1998.
Oh, which was the same year that Harvey Weinstein Gwyneth Paltrow. Propositioned her? I don't know what the word is. Threatened her?
Sure.
But yeah, same year.
So that was the 71st Academy Awards. Jesus fucking Christ.
What did he?
The other nominees were Elizabeth,
Mm-hmm.
Life is Beautiful, The Thin Red Line, and Saving Private Ryan.
Holy shit.
Saving Private Ryan.
Wow. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's gross and impressive.
It's both those things. Yeah.
Well, let's continue to talk about other disgusting things. So there's a number of people who have come forward to tell their stories.
Yes.
I apologize ahead of time for mispronouncing names. I'm going to say Lucia Evans. Here's where we get into the terrible shit. Heads up. So a lot of the assaults and rapes that he committed were done in a very similar manner, where he would have a hotel room. He would tell whoever the person he was going to assault was,
Yes,
that he wanted to have a meeting in his hotel room. Well, first he would say, sometimes he would say like, oh, we're going to have a meeting. It's going to be in this building. Oh, JK, we're going to move it to my hotel room because I'm busy or whatever. He would then also have usually a femme assistant or whatever, kind of act as an in-between person.
Yeah.
I forget what the word is that they used, honeypot, I believe.
Sure.
But basically, like, it's cool. I'm gonna take you up to Harvey. We're gonna have a meeting. It's great. And then at some point during the meeting, Harvey would excuse them.
Yes.
So he brought her to his hotel room. He raped her. He gave her a movie deal because that was his. Hey, I'm just gonna do this thing, and like, you know, you're gonna be a star. Here's the movie deal. She left acting, became suicidal, barely finished college. She survived it, obviously, because she gave this interview.
Yes.
But, you know, horrible shit.
Yeah. No, that's monstrous.
The next one's probably the hardest one for me to read about. It was just like really awful.
Mm-hmm.
So Asia Argento.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was another one that, along with Rose McGowan, they were the first two to kind of like speak out against
right.
him.
I had admittedly forgotten that Asia Argento was one of them, but yeah, I'm now that you mention it, I remember this being particularly rough. I know we haven't mentioned. I'm going to put time codes in the episode description, if people don't want to listen to this part, just skip it entirely.
Yeah. You don't have to put yourself through this.
Yeah.
I'm only laughing because I did put myself through this.
It's, you know.
What am I gonna... So this is a fantastic example of gaslighting.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's an apt time to use that term.
Like, everything he did was terrible. What he did to her was over years. Like, years and years and years of abuse and gaslighting her, making her think that the only way she's going to have her films distributed is through him. He would give her money for like extravagant gifts. When I don't know how many children she had, but she needed a nanny for her children. He paid for it. And because of that dynamic, she believed, and for good reason, that people were not going to believe her story.
Yeah. That
they were going to think either they had been dating, quote unquote, secretly, or that she was, for lack of a better phrase, like a slut.
The media has a nasty habit of portraying women, particularly women in Hollywood, that way. So I can't say I blame her for thinking that.
So similar to the first case that I discussed with Lucy Evans, she was brought to a hotel for a quote unquote meeting. He violently raped her, which is not a true crime podcast, so we're not going to go into those details.
Yeah, no, that's not our place. That's not the point of this.
She responded by saying, "I am not a whore." And he responded with, "I'll put that on a t-shirt."
Fucking what?
Yeah. There are a number of like quippy one-liners that he... Anyway. So he continued to...
Of course he fucking thinks he's clever.
Yes. continued to rape her over, I think, 5 years. In the year 2000, she released a movie called Scarlet Diva, which I've not had a chance to watch, but I did watch the trailer and it looked really good.
Not familiar with this.
It's a semi-autobiographical film, which she wrote, directed, and starred in. And in it, there's a scene, even in the trailer, with a sleazy producer who, in the film, attempts to rape the lead actress.
Yeah.
In the film, she gets away.
Good.
After the premiere, people recognized that was meant to be Harvey Weinstein.
I'm glad people are making that connection. Also, I want to clarify real quick. I did not say good as in good. She should not depict that particular part of the story and should not. Yeah, that she
gets away.
Yeah, I'm not saying that she should like self-censor her own story. I'm glad she didn't like feel that she needed to re-traumatize herself to that level.
God, I was thinking about that just seeing the trailer, because she wrote it, she directed it, and she starred in it. And she's doing that scene over again.
Yeah.
I will say that the actor they got to portray the Harvey Weinstein character, not super scary. At least not after you've seen the actual Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
But it takes so little to re-traumatize yourself that doing that exact scene,
take after take after take.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fucking hell.
Like the body can react to trauma just like putting your body in a position. Like she could have like laid on the bed and that would have been.
Yeah. And that itself can be a trigger. It's to literally like have the further out of body experience of directing somebody else experiencing it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Did you see the interview with Florence Pugh where she discussed her performance in Midsummer?
No.
I didn't get to read the whole thing, but she said she pushed herself too hard and like traumatized herself, like hurt herself.
Oh,
not physically, but like emotionally.
Emotionally, sure.
And if you've seen Midsummer,
I still haven't.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal performance, an amazing performance. Mm-hmm. Not surprised.
Okay.
And as a person who has directed people in traumatic scenes, probably pushed them too far, especially in college before I knew better. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's part of the point of acting.
Yeah.
is to act, and you don't need to tap into such deep fucking trauma to make your performance worthwhile. Like, it's not worth it for you. It's not worth it for the film. It's not worth it for the audience. Take care of your mental health.
That also does kind of bring up the point that, you know, like Florence Pugh is established at that point.
Yeah.
Like even, in Midsummer, there are a lot of actresses or actors or whoever that aren't. And I mean, fuck, even like I've pushed myself as an actor.
I've seen you do it.
You've seen me do it in unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had like a damn flashback.
I saw. Yeah, I just watched your eyes go blank for a second. Yeah, Jesus.
There can be this feeling. It's like, well, I have to push myself harder than other people so that I can quote unquote make it. And then you find yourself in front of a person like Harvey Weinstein, who is the literal gatekeeper to your dreams.
Yep. There's no other way to put it, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Like he held the keys to so many people's success.
Yeah. And not only did he promise them, he also did it. Like he also gave people, like the contract was sitting on the table. He signed it.
Yeah.
They were in movies.
He used it as leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So not only did other people recognize Harvey Weinstein in this scene from Scarlet Diva.
Did he recognize him?
He recognized himself.
Uh-huh.
And his response was, haha, very funny.
How fucking black a pit is your soul?
Yeah. So, another person, Mina Sorvino, which I think you mentioned as one of the people you remember.
I do recall that Mira Sorvino was one of his victims as well. Yes, her career was completely derailed.
Yeah, so she turned him down, and when he continued to try to pursue it, as in called her and said he was on his way over to her apartment. Just terrifying. She called her friend, who was not her boyfriend, and was like, "Can you pretend to be my boyfriend?
Yeah.
And get over here immediately." He did. And
good man.
Yeah. As soon as he showed up, Harvey Weinstein, much like what he did with Brad Pitt, backed down and stopped pursuing her, but did, I mean,
he blacklisted her.
He blacklisted
her.
Yeah.
Because he's a predator and a coward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I assume everybody knows what he looks like, and sometimes it's hard to see on screen, but he is a large...
He's a big
dude.
He is a large, imposing figure.
Yeah.
Like, like, I would feel... Like, I'm 6'3", and I would feel uncomfortable if he cornered me.
Like, you can make yourself, as a shorter person, feel very intimidating.
Yeah.
But he did that, plus he was huge.
Massive.
Every single one of the people that talked to Ronan Farrow said how scared they were of him.
Yeah.
In 2014, Emily Nestor, she was an intern for him for I think that would have been Weinstein Company at that point.
That would definitely be Weinstein Company days, yeah.
To demonstrate his influence, I forget, I don't know what movie it was, but like Amy Adams was upset about something that happened on a Weinstein picture. Was talking in interviews about it. One of Weinstein's assistants came up to him and was like, "Hey, Amy Adams is like talking shit." And Weinstein, talking to his intern, is Emily Nestor, said, "Keep a lookout for the news. You'll see what happens." And within 24 hours, there was a ton of bad press out about Amy Adams, and she stopped talking about whatever the movie was because she was too busy, addressing the bad press.
Do you remember, like, did you see what any of that press was, or?
No, because that wasn't the main thrust of the interview.
Sure.
I can take a look. I mean, it's 2014, so there's probably not that many movies that were both released in that year with Amy Adams and a Weinstein Company.
Yeah. So
having demonstrated his power, he then tried to do what he always does, which is set up a meeting with another female, assistant. And then he told Emily Nestor that she could basically be his girlfriend. What a reward! He would set her up in the European office and take care of her. She turned him down, and then went to HR. Yeah. And HR, one of the things I don't think I get across very well, but in a number of the interviews I read, is he was surrounded by people who enabled him.
Yeah.
Specifically the people who worked at Miramax and then the Weinstein Company.
Yeah.
HR was a joke. Everyone knew what was going on.
Yeah.
There was one person from HR that Emily Nestor spoke to, a man by the name of Erwin Ritter. I don't know. He was a senior executive, and he did give a fuck.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm glad there was somebody.
And he went straight to Harvey to discuss it, to address it. And that accomplished him getting the nickname of the Sex Police.
The Sex Police?
Mm-hmm.
How fucking on the nose can you fucking be? Like, this is... After everything that, like your behavior is becoming an open secret at this point.
Yeah, at this point, very much so.
Yeah. What the fuck makes you think you are so powerful that you can be that level of fucking cutesy and jokey about this?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think at this point, I would say he was probably the most powerful producer in Hollywood.
I think that is a fair statement, yes.
So, is this the last person I cover? Please, gotta be. Yeah. Okay. So, and this one is not quite as terrible.
Okay.
Almost, I would say, in this case, a little bit of levity.
Oh.
as much as it can be given what I'm talking about.
Well, fair.
So Emma DeCoons? I don't know. I'm looking at you like you're looking at the name as well.
Yeah, I don't see your script, Jack.
You can't see it. Anyway, actress went through the Weinstein process, invited to the room, came out in a robe, naked, and she said absolutely not. And he panicked because she was not United States famous, but she was Italian famous.
Yeah.
And he said, "We haven't done anything. It's like being in a Disney movie. We're just two people." It's a weird defense. And her response was to look at him and say, "I've always hated Walt Disney films," and slam the door and run away.
I've always hated Walt Disney films.
Yeah.
You know what? It's a good exit line.
Yeah. I mean,
good on her for getting the fuck out of there. Just holy hell.
Of course, she was very shaken.
Yeah.
She was, incredibly upset. And I think she's the one that points out, she's like, if I weren't already famous and working, I don't know how that would have went.
And that is like the crux of the issue in a lot of ways, right? Like taking somebody who has a dream, who is youthful and inexperienced and trying to climb up the ranks and attain that success that they want, and then putting this sick, disgusting roadblock in that, inserting yourself into what is their dream in their life and holding that hostage for your own fucking gratification.
Let's move on to his downfall.
Let's please move on to his downfall. Is this we're going to talk about Rose McGowan or?
Well, it starts a little earlier than her.
Oh, okay.
I'm definitely going to mess this name up. So a woman by the name of Ambra Bachelana Gutierrez.
Okay. Again,
I looked at you like, eh?
Gutierrez?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Yes. Did the same thing. He set up a meeting, fake meeting. He groped her.
Okay, so he did assault.
Yes. She immediately went to the police.
Good.
And they're like, "Oh, him." It's not quite that bad. I mean, it's still bad, but like,
I mean, my fucking cops reflex is going off. But like, yeah,
so I'm like, because I did the same thing. I'm like, great.
Yeah,
they have a file, like an encyclopedia on this guy, and they've done nothing.
Yeah.
They were aware of him and his reputation. They convinced her to wear a wire.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because if they could get him to admitting to groping her, that is assault.
That's assault.
I forget what they said he could serve, but like it was not a small amount. I mean, it was a small amount, but it was significant for a person of his career.
Sure.
She agreed, and
it's a hell of a thing to ask somebody to go back into.
Yeah,
but I can't speak for her,
right?
But I can see how that could potentially also feel empowering, knowing that you're going in with it, armed with what could possibly bring him down.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she does go.
Yeah.
The recording's out there. I'm not gonna. I can't remember what I said, but two, I'm also. The details don't matter. What you need to know is that he's like, yeah, I did. I apologize. I'm sorry for any misunderstanding there. But he says he admits to having a history with that problem.
He admits in this meeting to having a history of
on the wiretap. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He doesn't go into like detail, but
that's reasonable suspicion to investigate him further.
Yeah. Man, you're gonna hate this next part.
I'm sure I will.
So she gets that information. She also gets the fuck out of there before anything else awful happens.
Yes.
The police are building a case. Harvey Weinstein's aware of what's going on, and suddenly a bunch of information from her past gets leaked. It's the weirdest thing that finally is like the police are like, we're not going to win this.
What?
She was at she's not American. I think she was a Thai or is a Thai actress.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. But she was at a party, and I don't know what this means. I hope it's not racist, but it was referred to as a bunga bunga party. It sounds racist.
Oh, no.
What is it?
Oh, God. So this was largely the term bunga bunga party, at least in my mind, specifically harkens back to former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi.
I think that was who it was.
Yeah, he threw ravish sex parties that were referred to as bunga bunga parties.
I think so. She had been noted as having gone to one, and she's like, I didn't know what it was. But that she was there, that she attended, and other like minor things from her past. Yeah. I think she had,
Jesus Christ,
in her past also said that like, I was assaulted by this other person, and obviously since she'd said that before, that means she's lying this time.
So they're trying to write it off as, she has a pattern of just saying this about people. Man, fucking hell.
Yeah,
you're right. I fucking hated this.
Yeah,
just
the two officers that were working with her, the one kind of was just like, there's like it is what it is. The other one's like, I still think about this every single day. They settled out of court. She kind of realized like, there's no way I'm going to be able to actually get him convicted. This is the best thing I can do to say, you did something wrong.
You have him on tape saying he has a pattern of abuse over his career. I don't care what the fuck she did in her past. You investigate that and you drag him through the fucking coals.
And what's really upsetting is like, I'm like, oh, that sounds like 1991 logic, but no, that was 2014.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I could almost buy it if it was like, oh, this is the fucking 90s. Yeah. Of course they're not taking this shit seriously. Yeah. It's not even a decade ago right now.
Yeah. So one minor detail that does become important later. The settlement requires her to destroy all of the copies of the tape. Which she does, except for one. And when Rowan Farrow, I want to keep saying Rowan Wilson, like Owen Wilson, but that's far different interview.
Yeah, that would. Oh no. Okay, I'm not going to do an Owen Wilson impression.
Right, jokes are out of the room right now.
Jokes are out of the room right now.
So when Rowan Farrow goes to interview her, he's like, "Do you have a copy?" And she's like, "Yeah, but if I show it to you, then I'm breaking
the settlement."
Yeah. And I can't produce any copies. And he's like, "What if I record it on my phone while it's playing?" Which sounds like the most junior high school understanding of the law, but apparently that was fine. I don't understand.
She didn't do it. She did not actually create the. Literally, it's like a possession issue.
It's so fucking weird.
Yeah, law is fucking pedantic and arcane. Like, I'm glad that
stupid. He was able to do that, but also, what kind of high school bullshit is this?
I am so grateful that there are people who are actual like solid journalists like Ronan Farrow, because there are so many fucking assholes out there. Like on the way here, I was listening to a little bit of Matt Taibbi getting reamed because his Twitter files reporting was so rife with errors and lies that it's just like, and that he's being called out on them on the air, like on during an NBC interview, and he's just like, no, that's just what the story was. Like you're a fucking chud. Like you were such a spineless little worm. We need more Ronan Farrows in the world.
So that even though that didn't bring a conviction, it still was something that could be looked back on when the conviction did happen.
Yeah.
And we had that tape. So a year later is when shit hit the fan in a good way.
Yes.
The climate changed significantly. That's when Roger Ailes, Bill O'Reilly, and Bill Cosby were all called out for their behavior.
Yes.
And thus
thing. I think Ailes and O'Reilly from a number of Fox News interns, and Cosby, I think, actually was initially called up by fellow comedian Hannibal Burress.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had been sounding the alarm on Cosby for a while before action was taken. Yeah.
So out of that came the Me Too movement, and with this changing attitude, people like Rose McGowan felt, I'm not going to say safe, but they felt like they could come and tell their story and actually be listened to.
Were empowered enough to be willing to step forward. Yeah.
I didn't go into her story. It was very similar to what happened to other people.
We've established it's a very clear pattern and tactic that he takes with these women.
And then when she spoke out, and she's still God, you know what really pissed me off is like in a bunch of these interviews, they're like, cult movie star Rose McGowan. I'm like, cult? What one you? And they're like, the Scream one. I'm like, Scream is not a cult movie.
No, good Lord, man. Like,
if they were referring to her like early Greg Araki films, I'd be like, yes, a cult movie star.
Sure,
but I'm like, no. Anyway, I just felt demeaning.
Yeah. I'm sure that was purposeful to an extent.
So she came forward, and because of that, other people came forward. A lot of the people whose stories I've already told you.
Yeah. Floodgates opened.
Yes. So the list of people who have said that he sexually harassed them or assaulted them is over 100. It's also, I don't know what they're differentiating between sexual harassment and assault and rape.
So harassment would likely be verbal. Assault could be any degree of physical, and rape is going to be full on, just penetrative sex.
Okay, because Rose. Oh no, I see. Okay, because like Rose McGowan was in the first category. I'm like, no, she's in both. I don't know why they listed her both times, but they did. Anyway, so of the people that have said that he harassed or assaulted them, not listing any kind of importance, just names you might recognize: Kate Beckinsale, Rosanna Arquette, Helena Bonham Carter, Daryl Hannah, Ava Green, Heather Graham, Angelina Jolie, Ashley Judd, Mina Savarro, Sarah Polley, who we talked about fairly recently. Yeah. Lupita Nyong'o?
Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Madonna. It's a very long list. Sean Young, Uma Thurman, and then most of the people that have said their name, I covered earlier.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to say is, and I hope this is legally okay, because it's literally the last paragraph of Ronan Farrow's article.
I think it's legally. I think we're fine.
It's a quote from one of the women that acted as a honeypot.
Yeah.
I'm going to read this verbatim. She said that she often thinks of something Weinstein whispered to himself, as far as she could tell. After one of his many shouting sprees at the office, it so unnerved her that she pulled out her phone and tapped it into a memo. Word for word, quote, "There are things I've done that nobody knows."
Wow.
Yeah. So he's cognizant of what he's doing is wrong. We know that both from that and from the recording that Gutierrez got.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So the good news is, if there can be any good news from this, he is in prison.
He's been sentenced to he's found guilty, sentenced to a lengthy fucking prison term that I think more than 20 years, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's at least 20, and he is 60-ish. So
he's in his like mid to late 60s, I believe. It is a very real possibility he dies in prison. Yes,
it's pretty likely. I think he has been in solitary on and off. He's been isolated on and off, partially because he did catch COVID, and for a brief second it looked like, you know what, I'm glad he survived.
Yeah.
Because if he'd been in there for like a year and a half, got COVID and died, fuck that.
He wouldn't have actually been properly sentenced at that point. And also, he deserves his fucking punishment. He
lived such a privileged life for so long that being moved into a prison where nobody cares who he is, that nobody's
coddling him, nobody's protecting
running
him.
up to him with his diet fucking Coke.
Yep.
He's just rotting.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like hell.
Yeah, I'll never forget the image of him coming into the courtroom with his walker, which 100% was a sympathy play.
This is a podcast, so you didn't hear my eyes roll.
Oh yeah, Jack's eyes rolled so hard that I felt the room tilt. With his walker with the little tennis balls on the feet, like absolute fucking sympathy play from him. Like it's almost insulting to watch. Like you fucking dare walk into this courtroom to make yourself look so frail and old and weak. Yeah. You fucking coward! Oh my god!
Like nothing can take back what he did.
No.
My hope is that other producers, other people in power, see that they're not invincible and think twice before they're a piece of shit.
Yeah. I want to see a clear and intentional trend in Hollywood of producers and filmmakers like just being cognizant of the environment they're creating on their sets and in their business practices. That's why I'm so fucking thankful for people like Rian Johnson who like go out of their way to make sure like, hey, this is a safe space. We're here to make something fun and cool together. You know, what do you need? What does that look like for you? And like crafting.
Who's Rian Johnson?
Huh?
Who's Rian Johnson?
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Glass Onion.
Oh yeah.
Knives Out.
Right, Ryan Rian.
Yes.
Right, that one.
Yes, that one.
Well, like without that spelling, he's just it's Rian Johnson.
Yeah, I know.
Works down. He's a carpenter. Makes some solid root.
Could be.
I guess he could be. He could also just build furniture in his spare time.
He might be a good. Hey, you never know.
Harrison Ford built George Lucas's child's bed frame.
See, I did not know that.
It's still good. He's a really good carpenter.
What can't that man do? Oh, Jesus
Christ.
Right.
Ryan Rian Johnson.
Yes.
You have to say it like that.
Yeah. So I'm grateful there is that kind of ethos present and being publicized, like and openly talked about, so that people can fucking move forward and do something more nurturing and actually conducive to good art, as opposed to this monstrous, vile horse shit.
It's like between watching Alan Smithee, which everything about that movie tells me you don't like to make movies.
Yeah.
And then
it tells me you don't like to make movies, and you're so overly obsessed with the business of movies that you don't even understand what a real movie is anymore. And
then to talk about the very real and awful underside of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to be an indie director.
Yeah.
Well, we did it. We covered it. Hopefully we never have to talk about it in this detail again.
Yeah, no, I don't see a reason why we should ever have to go this in depth on this ever again for any reason. So
all of the Harvey Weinstein stuff will be past tense unless he's fucking dead. In which case, I will happily report it.
I'll fucking drink to that. Just
one final note on Bob.
Sure.
As far as I'm aware, much easier to get along with, but I think people preferred to work with Bob. He is not without his own allegations. Nothing near the degree that Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that he had allegations.
It's kind of like, oh, Bob has 2 and Harvey has hundreds.
Yeah.
Shit. Wow. Wow. You know, we finished Caligula, and I was like, oh man, I'm so glad I can get a terrible human being out of my head that does horrible things to women. And then I was like, oh, Alan Smithee. Oh, it has Eric Idle. I love him. Fantastic Sir Robin.
And there's fucking Harvey Weinstein.
And then Harvey Weinstein shows up in a scene.
Down the camera.
And like, what are you doing here? And then I knew that his name had come up too many times recently that we couldn't ignore him.
Yeah.
Nor should we.
Nor should we.
I really hope there's nothing awful in the next 2 episodes that I'm covering.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, the last one's blonde. We can say that one.
That one's probably going to have some horrible shit in it, but yeah.
I mean, I know how that story ends. So
yeah.
That was horrible. I hope that we did the story and the people involved justice. We're going to take a break so I can go vomit.
Yes.
And then we're going to be back and try to fix Alan Smithee.
We'll be back, folks.
Thank you for sitting through that last portion. That was deeply unenjoyable.
Yes. Well, we're going to try to bring some jokes back into the room now.
Jokes are...
And we're going to talk about some lighter stuff.
If they're not scared to return, they can come back in.
They might need a minute.
I'm also going to try to avoid talking about it, referencing it, in case anybody who skipped it, they don't have to.
Agreed. Yeah, that's easily the best choice here.
So we're going to try to fix the Alan Smithee movie. However, as I mentioned before, it's broken. It's quite a broken toy. So part of this will be, hey Joe, what do you think about this or that, or what if we did this to fix it, and then having a discussion.
Okay.
The number one reason that this is broken, and we've dealt with this problem before, is the element that I would remove to fix it cannot be removed without the project falling apart.
And what element is that?
That would be Joe Esterhaus. Because not only did he write the project, he also financed it and kind of took over creative control in post-production.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really no jettisoning him from this, unfortunately.
No. So it's kind of like when we did Battlefield Earth. It's like, well, who's the person we would remove to fix this?
John Travolta.
Everyone in it except for Barry Peters and
it would be Barry Pepper and
Forrest Whitaker.
And Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Would absolutely, yeah. That man. Forrest Whitaker's so good.
To both of them.
Can we replace Joe Esterhaus with Forrest Whitaker? Is that a possibility?
That'd be some weird casting.
Yeah, no, I don't think we could do that. We're stuck with Esterhaus.
I was just trying to imagine Forrest Whitaker with Joe Esterhaus's Wookiee hair.
That's a sight.
It didn't work for me.
No, it's not. It's not a good sight. It's a sight, though.
It is a sight. The approach I'm taking with Esterhaus is distraction and nullification. So, so like the first question that I asked was, why are we even doing this movie?
Fair, I guess.
I mean, I know why we are doing it. We've signed ourselves up for this.
Yeah, we've signed this dark pact, and we have a grim duty to perform.
We met naked in the woods and signed the book, and there was some other stuff.
There's some other stuff. I just, we don't have to bring that up.
Nah.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons this movie is a disappointment was because it was initially promised as a hard hitting look at the slimy fuckers of Hollywood and really sticking it to them. And it wasn't.
It does not do that. It fails to do that spectacularly.
Yeah.
Like,
so I'm like, okay, well, if that's, and that does interest me. I just watched an awards speech with, I think it's Charlie Kaufman, where he's such a good writer. But he just like tears into everyone.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, look into it. And also, I think we were talking about the writer's strike being a possible thing.
That might be. Yep. Vote's coming up.
That speech sure felt like it was lining things up.
Okay.
But yeah, let's do that. Let's do the showing shitty side of Hollywood. If that's your intent, do it.
Actually do it.
Actually do it. Because as we've just discussed for 40 minutes or however long,
it's there.
It's there, and it needs to be pointed out. Here's where I run into a problem, because that stuff is not funny to me.
It's not.
Nor is my particular brand of humor great at addressing that stuff. Once you hit a certain point of dark material, my inclination as a writer is to not make it funny, but to hold your hand down on the grill and let it burn so you really feel it.
That is more your approach to it, yeah.
I like my humor to be more stupid.
Yeah.
And then my serious drama to be serious fucking drama. However, there is a way to do that material and have it be funny. It's called satire, and I am not a satirist, but Paul Verhoeven is.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. Paul Verhoeven would be the director to bring in to kind of right the ship.
Yeah.
They have the working relationship. They have the rapport.
This is the first time I've seen Joe Esterhaus without a Verhoeven, and I didn't like it.
No, not at all.
Verhoeven seems to have more of an artistic vision for things. Even if I don't like the movie, he seems to have a goal in mind.
Right. Even with Showgirls, it kind of maybe got away from him a bit. And
yeah.
And I don't think he was accomplishing the things that he thought he was accomplishing in a lot of cases, but there's still clearly a direction that things are moving.
It almost feels like, and this is conjecture, obviously, Joe Esterhaus had an itch that he tried to scratch with Showgirls, which is to show the slimy underbelly of the entertainment business. Failed magnificently with Showgirls, and then tried to follow it up with this.
And it just fell right on his face again.
I would say even worse than
honestly.
Showgirls. I mean, at least there's some parts in Showgirls that were so bad they're good. They're just all bad. So yeah, I think if you pair them together again and you frame it with, this is your chance to kind of redeem yourselves for Showgirls. And initially I was like, well, nobody's going to give them the money for that. Well, nobody gave them the money for this. That's
exactly. Esterhaus had to source all the funding himself, or even contribute the funding himself in a lot of cases. That's not the point with this.
Right. So yeah, first step, bring that in, let Verhoeven, who clearly I imagine has one or two things to say about Hollywood, especially because he ran away.
Yeah. He went back to make movies at home.
Yeah. Which I think is perfect. If you end up running back to your
this is a swan song.
Yeah, say what you want to say and then get the fuck out of Dodge. Do it. I mean, Esterhaus's career sunk after this, regardless.
Yeah.
Less for what he said and more for a shitty movie. Also, Paul Verhoeven, what he did direct instead was Hollow Man, which he himself hates.
Yeah.
And has said that it was the only movie that he felt any director could have directed it. So he's like, no other director could have directed RoboCop or Starship Troopers. Even Starship Troopers, that was mine.
Yeah.
And since we spent the time analyzing his material, I'm like, actually, I'd agree with that.
I would absolutely agree with that. It's a very clear vision. It's a very clear interpretation of that work that he brought to the table.
Have you watched Hollow Man? Because I have not.
No, I have not.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. I know it's a horror-ish movie with Kevin Bacon.
Where it's Kevin Bacon as an invisible man, if I'm not mistaken, right? And it's largely, if I remember correctly, it's largely the reason that the invisibility is real fucking creepy, in a not horror movie creepy, but dude's a fucking creepy. Kind of came back into the public discourse, if I remember correctly. But
I blame Alan Moore.
I also blame Alan Moore.
I'm not even sure if that's entirely true, but I feel safe saying it.
You know what you did, Alan.
He does, and he's not sad.
He does. No.
I
don't want to keep invoking his name. He's going to cast a sex curse on me. I don't need that
again.
Not again.
God damn it!
Just bought a fucking house. I don't need you putting a sex curse on it.
Why are all these walkie-talkies here?
No.
So giving them both the chance to give the middle finger to Hollywood. Yeah,
I like that.
So here's the little bit of the story I was able to put together with that.
Okay.
And there's big gaping holes where I'm like, I don't know. But I do want to, I love the mockumentary angle. I think it makes what is essentially a boring story more unique. And I want to start kind of similarly with it's not going to be, I mean, I guess it has to be trio, but like, I want it to be like, this is the martini shot. Film's done. We've seen the last shot. I think the movie actually has to be like somewhat good for people to give a shit about him running away with it.
Yeah.
Like we immediately saw from that last shot with Jackie Chan.
This is going to be crap.
It's a horrible movie.
Yeah.
He has no reason to try to save it.
No.
But, very similar. We see the executives pulling control away from him and him becoming upset with it. Now, things change when there's a screening of the finished product amongst all the executives, and they see in the background the head of the studio, so that would be like a Jack Warner type character.
Okay.
But not Jack Warner. Doing something unspeakable, which is my phrase for saying, I don't want to talk about it, but something unspeakable. He was caught in the background like an extra picking his nose. And nobody noticed it.
And eating it.
And eating. And this is the first time that anybody's seeing it. And the two producers are like, if this gets sent to theaters, if people see this, Hollywood's done. Like the whole Hollywood system's done. So the story develops, and they decide that they are going to burn the negatives of the film.
Oh.
And that they will cash in on the insurance money from its destruction.
Sure. They have the tax write-off from the lost footage or something.
Right. What they don't count on is that Alan himself steals one of the many negatives, because there's not just one.
There's not just one
negative. Because he, being an editor, intends to recut the film himself.
Yes.
So Act 1 ends with them basically lighting that warehouse on fire that was holding the negatives.
But then they find out too late there's still one more out there. So
yeah.
Now he really has the last negative, but there's a reason that he has the last one. I like this so much more already.
What makes it worse for them is that publicly they have to pretend that they need that movie back, where privately they just want to
destroy it.
Destroyed.
Yeah.
Going into the second act is when we start to try to figure out the full story of what the head of the studio is doing in the background.
Yeah.
And the way we do this, and without breaking Verhoeven and Esterhaus's bank, is reenactment actors.
No, I'm sold. I'm 100% sold on that. One of my biggest problems with this is that like the documentary or the mockumentary format is indistinguishable from moments that seem like they're supposed to be happening in real time.
Yeah.
Like it's all like the exact same film quality, the exact same actors, so like the timelines feel all fucked up. That goes to such a long way to readability. It's, oh my god, yes.
And like I of course would want the worst cast stand-ins. I don't know why I keep thinking of like Adam Scott for Stallone.
Oh my god.
But like 1998 Adam Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention that one of the Alan Smithee movies was definitely Hellraiser Bloodlines.
Oh, which god, it was.
Has a young
Adam Scott.
Which I didn't think was that bad, but whatever.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It was fine.
It had... We'll save it for a Hellraiser episode.
That was Pinhead in Space.
It was like 3 different timelines. One of them was Pinhead in Space.
Yeah, okay, so that was number 4. Yeah, okay, yeah. No,
Adam Scott was the like aristocrat.
I remember. I remember. It was very good.
I might watch it after this.
It's a little palate cleanser.
It's a palate cleanser. Fuck, I'm getting a little loopy.
Yeah,
we're almost there. So the second act has them trying to find this woman that unspeakable things were being done to. Again, have no idea how that's going to work. Again, don't want to talk about it.
Nope.
So they're searching for her.
Made to pick his nose.
Yes. Yeah. I keep thinking of the scene from Roger Rabbit where they
playing
keep
patty cake.
playing patty cake.
Yeah. God damn it.
I love that movie so much.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
No, we're not going to talk about Roger Rabbit. we'll another hour of talking about the movie.
We don't have that much time.
We don't have much time. So they go after her. They then hire a detective to go after Alan Smithee. So they're splitting their responsibilities.
Okay.
I don't know who I would want to play that detective, because who I would cast would not fit the vibe of a Verhoeven movie, which would absolutely be Dan Aykroyd doing the exact same character he did in Dragnet.
Yeah.
And or also David Duchovny dressed as his character from Twin Peaks.
I mean, that's also pretty good. My brain went in a different direction.
Okay.
I don't know why my brain did this, but John Candy and Rick Moranis.
What year did John Candy?
That's what I'm struggling to remember. Let me look it up real quick.
I don't think Rick Moranis retired at that point.
No, Rick Moranis had not retired at that point.
God, have they acted together before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mostly in like Canadian like sketch TV.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they had absolutely acted together.
Oh, I want to see that. I can't imagine.
Damn it, he died in 94. Never mind. I thought he lived further into the 90s. Yeah.
Well,
fuck me, I guess.
David Duchovny, you're in. Put that your skirt on.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's where you kind of get like the noir stuff. Like, Joe, Esther House, over here. Look at the noir.
Kyle MacLachlan.
Yeah. Well, I guess they do know him from Showgirls.
Yeah.
I think he'd do it. As though we're actually going to produce this film.
No.
All right, Duchovny, get back in there.
All right, sorry, David. Sorry. No, we keep jerking your chain here, but come on.
I'm pretty sure he was in the middle of a very successful X-Files run, but we'll ignore that for now.
Yeah, time. It's fine.
So Alan does meet up with the brothers again. However, I do want it to be the brothers sisters.
The brothers sisters?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna change the two best parts of the movie?
I know. I wrote that and like they are the best parts, but I also need
desperately need some women who are actually have agency and do things in this fucking movie.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know.
The brothers sisters is also pretty good though.
It could also be that the brothers are there. They're just amongst the brothers sisters. So it's 4 of them. Or 3, maybe 3 of them. Maybe the brothers sisters is a bit of a misnomer, and there's actually just one sister, and then there's the 2 brothers. Why am I having this conversation?
I don't know. I'm not sure where you're going with this. Or you could just increase the role that Lumumba has, because she's only kind of
That's true.
Because she's clearly jazzed about like getting Smithee for final cut and everything, but she really doesn't play much of a role beyond being a cheerleader in that moment and just like kind of being around slightly before that.
I like that. The 3 of them are attached at the hip.
There we go.
I kind of also want to cast Rosie Perez, but that's neither here nor there. So Alan goes, hangs out with them. He actually does show them the film because they're interested and they do like him as an editor.
Okay.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's no good.
That's no good."
But this is important because later we see that because he intends to get rid of it anyway, that the brother's sister uses some of it for B-roll. I think you see where I'm going with this.
I think I do see where you're going with this.
So in Act 3, and again, this is all very choppy because I don't know what the hell I'm doing with this story, and I hate it. Alan does burn the negative. But again, the brother's sister removed a couple clips for B-roll for their film, which I'm not going to try to name right now.
Okay.
That, of course, is the clip with the studio head doing unspeakable acts, for which they are awarded the Golden Honey Badger Award and a Pulitzer. 1, because it's a great film, and 2, because they take down the studio head. So I'm not super thrilled with the fix. I think it has some like good meat and potatoes.
It does. It's got good bones. So I think it might be running into the same problem that the original's having is in that it kind of gets away from the mockumentary format, or it has the potential to at the very least. Like I so deeply love the idea of the dramatic recreation actors playing out a bunch of stuff. I don't know how that carries out through the entirety of the film, though. You know?
Yeah, I almost kind of want to. What if the brothers, sisters, and sons were from the very start the documentarians, and when Alan Smithee goes to flee, he ends up back at their place where they're putting this documentary together.
Oh, so you kind of have another level of meta abstraction then. Okay. I like that.
So then it gives the reason for the documentarians to be there in the first place, but also they would have to split off. So like several of them would go with the producers, and then several of them would go with Smithee.
Well, maybe that's the point then. So you have the brothers helming the documentary, and they're while they're focusing in on the producers, Smithee gets away, and that's where the brothers sisters come into play. So
who are you? We're the brothers sisters.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a stupid joke.
Yeah,
this is more my speed of joke.
Yeah.
I thought you were the brothers. No, they're the brothers sisters.
Now the brothers are out on set right now with the producers. We're the brothers sisters. We're prepping materials for the next segment. What are you doing here?
This would be perfect for John Candy and Rick Moranis.
I know.
Verhoeven's gonna hate it. Why aren't there more shower scenes?
I mean, yeah, he would work one in there somewhere. God,
that would probably be the scene where
something unspeakable is happening,
which would actually make sense.
Yeah,
if there was a scene in a shower and then something unspeakable was happening in the back of the shower. This is the anyway. Do I think we could hammer this into a better version of the thing? Yes.
Yeah, it's quite the to-do, but I think the groundwork that you've set up there makes it possible.
Yeah. I mean, if we're being entirely transparent, I'm doing two episodes back to back and didn't want to spend 3 weeks fixing a fucking Esther House film.
Honestly, yeah.
But also didn't want to forego the latter half of the season without having some Oscar Razzie winner.
Imagine if this won any Oscars.
No. There's barely anything redeeming about it, let alone award winning. Normally you can like point to like a costume or a sound, but no, those were also terrible.
They were all bad. They were all really bad.
I'm not gonna say we fixed it, but I will say it's worth taking a second look at.
We showed that it's possible.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Esther House, just
fuck, dude. Just
see a therapist.
Please. See several.
And there's nothing wrong with your hair. Don't fix a thing.
No, your hair's great.
Stay
your hair's great.
Boy.
Just return to your home world and commune with the life tree. Just
enjoy Life Day. Joe, would you like to tell them where they can find us?
Absolutely. Thank you again for hanging in here with us. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Please rate and review the show everywhere you possibly can. We would greatly appreciate that so more people can check us out. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at DeRazzledPod, on Facebook at DeRazzledPodcast, and on Instagram and TikTok at DeRazzled_podcast. If you want to send us recommendations for what you'd like to see us cover in future seasons or stuff you'd like to see pop up in our Redbubble merch store, send us an email at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com.
You did it. We did it.
We did it. We're done with this one.
I'm excited to be done with this.
Yes, and I'm very excited for what's coming down the road.
Yeah, no, we got some pretty cool stuff coming.
Cobbler and the Thief. Jack's tackling a second unit to do Cobbler and the Thief next week.
Freaky Friday.
And then after that, I'm doing a regular fix on 2016's Assassin's Creed. And then after that, we're in the home stretch to the season finale.
We have a number of announcements to make.
There's gonna be some stuff coming. I'm very excited about it. We can't say anything yet. Stay tuned. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
Be sure to come back and check us out next time. Where, as always, we are sure
to razzle
dazzle. Yeah.